All right. Well, I'm here, pleased to be joined by John Curry, newly promoted CEO at Knutson Construction. John is taking on his new role after a stint as president of Knutson, and his move he is a third generation owner, and he will focus on the continuous development of Knutson's vision, strategy, and culture, and on growing Knutson's engagement in their marketplaces and communities. John had played some professional hockey and holds an MBA from the University of Minnesota, Carlson School of Management, and a BA in economics from Boston University. John, thanks for checking in today. How you doing?
I'm doing great, Brian. Thanks for having me, and thanks for the introduction.
Yeah, for sure. So I guess just to jump right in, I wonder if you could talk a little bit about your new role as CEO. First of all, when did this take effect? This was a pretty recent promotion, wasn't it?
Pretty recent, yeah. I would guess it's been about 45 days at this point. We obviously took some time before we communicated, broadcasted it more broadly. And so it's new. It's a new structure for our team to be working in. It's come with some changes that we intended to make in terms of how we structure the leadership team and just some of our meetings and some of our priorities. So it's certainly early on, but so far it's been really great. I feel I can go into any level of detail kind of for why the change was made, but in essence, it really allows us to support the growth that we've had and to also support kind of the strategic goals that we have in the next 5 and 10 years. So I'm really excited about what it means and what it'll lead to certainly in the coming months and the coming years.
Sure, and I should mention that there are also several other promotions that were announced at the same time. Brendan Moore, it looks like, who we've interviewed previously, is promoted to president, to your old job, looks like. And so talk a little bit about that. Scott Hughes was promoted to vice president, general manager, and Tom Limer, was promoted to, is expanding his leadership role as senior vice president and general manager to include Iowa City and Cedar Rapids, Iowa. So some changes there. And I guess I wonder if you could talk a little bit just about how your role has changed in terms of your day-to-day duties from your previous role as president.
Sure. Yeah. I can speak probably first to the kind of the role of CEO versus president on a high level. And maybe not the perfect way to explain it, but essentially we looked at prior to making the change, the role and responsibility of the president is pretty broad, like it is in any organization, in which includes leading vision, leading strategy, leading the management team, managing risk for the organization, helping to drive business and support innovation and growth. And we have at Knutson experienced a significant amount of growth if you look back at least over the 10 years. And so what we really came to realize as we looked forward sort of at our next chapter, and when I say that, it's fairly intentional, because we've been through sort of a 5-year period of a sort of a generational transition in many ways, not to mention COVID and just some industry changes and some changes in the way that we organize and lead the business. And so we really feel like there's a turning point right now for us and sort of this road ahead. And as we've really looked at that road and looked at our goals and what we want to accomplish, we, in looking at the role and responsibility of a president, we thought, well, there's some areas we're not spending enough time in some really critical areas that we're maybe not able to get to because we're managing the business. And so just a couple of key areas relate to kind of that community engagement, engaging further in the business community outside of the walls of Knutson, forming relationships, forming partnerships, to help drive growth of the business, but to help drive participation and engagement of the business in the community. We've always done that. We've always been engaged at various levels, but what we recognized was to support the growth and to dedicate that time, we need to, divide and conquer to some degree. And then another, aspect of it is the focus on the vision and strategy of the business. Again, something that we've always had focus on, but recognizing the need to put more focus and dedicate more time to charting the path, planning the path, measuring yourselves along the way, really doing that deep strategic thinking on a more frequent basis, together with the leadership team. And this structure kind of allows for that. And so, we've talked about it, the president role and CEO role is sort of this Venn diagram where there's a decent amount of overlap when it comes to, just sort of some of the day-to-day management of the business and those priorities, but the partnership and collaboration on the vision and strategy. And that what Brendan in his role as president is more focused on is managing the day-to-day business, leading the organization, developing teams, developing processes and programs, but executing our strategy. And that's something that Brendan is shown and proven to be very strong at. He's an excellent leader to drive progress for the business, but he's an excellent team builder and leader of people. And that's what I'm most excited about for him in his new role, is to continue to sort of build depth in our organization, to continue to, develop these next generation leaders and empower them to help us deliver for our customers and for our partners. And so that's been part of this growth and transformation that we've been intentional in making over the past number of years. And I think this new structure helps us to ensure that we can continue that, but we can continue it as we grow as well.
Okay. And just to circle back a little bit, I understand you joined Knutson in 2015. Is that right?
Yep.
And then what were your initial duties then? And
my initial role was in business development. I would say that early on, over the first 3 years that I was with the business, I was really fortunate to be able to gain experience in a number of different functions, to really participate in sort of a lot of the activities of the leadership team in terms of managing the business, managing risk, helping to sell new business, helping to plan strategy. And so I was very fortunate to get that experience and just really connect a lot of dots. And in that time played a host of different sort of focused roles day to day. But fairly diverse roles as well, that gave me a really good perspective. But more than anything, it also helped me just connect with our team and really understand our team and our leaders and build relationships. And I say that because as I took over the role of president in October of last year, and now in this role of CEO, I'm extremely thankful and appreciative of the time that I was able to dedicate to building those relationships, because I certainly am on the lesser end of experienced CEOs, at least for my age in our industry. But the truth is we've just built a phenomenal team, and so being able to lean on that team and have trust in that team in both directions has just been made it really fun.
Yeah, and I know that Knutson is active in a number of different project types and in construction, not only in the Twin Cities, but also I know you have an office in Rochester, Mankato, and in Iowa. I believe you have a couple of offices. Can you talk a little bit about maybe some of the projects you're currently working on here in the cities, as well as maybe even outside the metro area? I assume you're staying pretty busy.
Yeah. Yeah, we're certainly busy. And we have a, it's always dangerous to pick some projects that are kind of most fun and exciting, but we're doing a lot of them right now. And it is exciting. So, we do a lot of work in the healthcare sector. That's been, traditionally kind of a main focus of Knutson over the past 15 to 20 years. And so we have a lot of ongoing projects in that space. We have a couple of really exciting projects going on with Mayo Clinic. We've done just a lot of work over the years with Children's of Minnesota, with Allina Hospitals, Park Nicollet, all of the leading healthcare institutions. Higher ed is another focus as well. And so we have some really exciting projects with the University of Minnesota. We've done a lot of work over the course of our history in Iowa with the University of Iowa. And K through 12 education has become a focus as well. And so we're, kind of growing our presence in that marketplace as well, and really enjoy partnering with school districts as they, kind of plan out their strategic plan and help them, execute that at least from a facilities standpoint.
And I believe you're working on was it the Hennepin County Medical Examiner's Office? Wasn't that one of your projects? That was kind of something we've written about. And so you've got a lot of different work there in both private and public sector projects. So that's
exactly
cool. So just, you talked a little bit about just having been there since 2015, you've seen some ups and downs, and of course you touched briefly on COVID. How did you guys fare during that time period when we were sort of at the height of restrictions and things were pretty uncertain, to say the least? How did you deal with that? Or did you just keep right on going with different projects that you had? Or did you see a lot of projects canceled? Or
we didn't. I think if you step back and look at just across all the different industries and how industries were impacted in different ways, some more severely than others, we were certainly impacted with projects being delayed. We didn't have a lot of projects that were canceled, but the work that we had planned to begin that year, there was a substantial amount that pushed out. Now, fortunately, the majority of that work was just delayed and not canceled. It was just a time of really, when I look back, everyone went through that same period of really just not knowing what was going to take place in our industry. We can look back and see what happened and know that we made it through together. But I do remember just really leaning on relationships and partnerships. And that was internal with our employees, and just having open communication, letting them know what we know, what we don't know. Our goal was to keep our team intact and sort of weather the storm, whatever storm that was going to be. And then externally, it was just open dialogue and communication with our trade partners, our design partners, and our clients. And luckily, I just think we're fortunate to be in these markets that you mentioned in the Midwest, where we just have a lot of really meaningful, high quality organizations that when the going gets tough, are willing partners to help each other through that. And that's how it felt. It felt like, hey, none of us have ever experienced and been through this before. Let's work with one another to get through it. So I say from that standpoint, we didn't, certainly fortunate and lucky and thankful to not have any sort of existential type of crisis on a project or just overall. And I think it's just a testament again, certainly to our team that I've probably tried to thank a million times for what they, did for the organization that year, but our clients and our partners too, for just the kind of that open dialogue and that feel of partnership to help each other in various ways.
Sure. And I know now, of course, one thing that's top of mind for everybody in this industry is the inflation and supply chain issues that seem to be still out there. How are you guys at Knutson dealing with that? And do you see things getting better anytime soon? Or what's kind of your outlook, kind of on the pricing and supply chain from that standpoint?
Well, I don't have a crystal ball. I wish I did. Yeah, to be honest, I would say the last year is in some different ways more challenging than what was initially the state of the union in construction during the heat of the pandemic. And it's just sort of some of this afterflow of these supply chain and different economic issues that are colliding with one another, leading to this, the material shortages, the inflation, the labor issues have kind of continued to be a challenge. Our approach has really been to be extremely disciplined in our core processes to make sure that we're not cutting corners, whether that's ordering material or in working with our trade partners to make sure that we're on the same page about how to execute a project and what labor is going to be required and when labor is going to be required. So there's a very operational aspect of it for us. And I think we're fortunate to have, really invested heavily and spent a lot of focus, a time focusing on that. And leading up to the pandemic, it served us well. And so I think that's been one piece. But I think the other piece is that same communication and collaboration with especially our clients, but our design partners and key trade partners on the front end of a project. So the most important thing that we can do and offer at that point in time is to provide information. So you just have to stay diligent in keeping open communication, because I'm sure everyone's heard or experienced. I mean, one month it's glass and the next month it's lumber or steel, and it's not a very static environment. It's a moving target, and there just is a lot of communication and information that needs to be shared during those time periods to make sure everyone knows where we're at every given point in time. And it's just, pure transparency, just to make sure that we don't put the client in a bad position, that we don't put the designer or our trade partners or Knutson in a really tough spot. And so, that's led to some tough decisions on projects if budgets have gotten, too inflated for what was the original intent. In terms of looking forward, when you look at the inflation that is just tangible and obvious, and you look at the interest rates that are going up to help balance that, I think at some point that has a tipping point and collides, and maybe it leads to a slowdown. We haven't felt it yet, but we're certainly eyeing it, and we're trying to plan as an organization for whatever that leads to. So we're watching it really closely. I think our top priority though is for the projects that are already going, and for the projects that are in that planning phase. And the only thing that we can do is to keep a tab on it and provide information as accurately and quickly as possible in all directions to our employees, to our clients, to our partners, and so on.
Sure, absolutely. And well, I can't let you go without asking about your hockey playing days. It looks like you attended Boston University. Did you play hockey at BU and then
I did.
go into the pro ranks, or tell us about that?
Yeah, I played hockey at BU 4 years. Just a phenomenal experience. I was a Minnesota kid that was a room. One of my roommates was from South Boston, someone from Southie, and so it was a big cultural transition, culture shock, but just became some of my best friends. Just getting to know a lot of uh, a lot of really good people from the East Coast. But I enjoyed my time at BU, and was fortunate enough to have the opportunity to continue playing. So I signed a contract with the Pittsburgh Penguins, and I was with their organization for 4 years. I spent the majority of my career in the minor leagues. I did get a number of opportunities to play in the NHL, and to, as a goalie, to be a backup in the NHL. And I was sort of a participant or a backup to the backup for Pittsburgh when they won the Stanley Cup in 2009. So just some really cool experiences and great lessons learned that I've been able to carry and apply to business. I had a stint in Germany, which was also a phenomenal experience for a season over there. And then the final 3 years of my career were spent with the Minnesota Wild organization. So that was really nice, to have. Their minor league team was in Des Moines. And so my girlfriend at the time to become fiance and now wife, it just allowed for us to stay connected to family. And then it was just an absolute dream to have an opportunity to play for the Wild a couple of different times in front of your home family. And it's honestly a whirlwind as I look back on it. And it's hard to believe that it took place, because it's been a while now, and it was such a different lifestyle than what I'm currently living. But tons of great experience and lessons that I reach back to and try to apply every day. So
That's awesome. And I understand the Wild just traded one of their goalies. So
yeah, I heard they're trying to make room for me.
yeah, exactly. Hey, yeah, that's cool. I think it's pretty much every kid's dream to maybe play professional sports someday. So that's awesome that you had that opportunity. And do you ever get a hankering to lace on the skates again, or do you play in any kind of league or anything when you're not doing your construction stuff?
Yeah, it hasn't been really intentional, but I haven't. I'll do some pickup. I'll lace on the skates and get out, in the winter on the pond and shoot the puck around. But I haven't played goalie, since I last played professionally, which is crazy. Again, not intentionally. It's just the gear went into the storage unit, and it's two kids now and focused on work and life, and it's not always easy to get up for that 6 a.m. ice time or that 10:30 p.m. ice time. And I do hope that I get back to it at some point. And my kids are growing up, and so I imagine that I'll re-engage in the sport and get a little bit closer to it in the next few years than it has been the last few.
Do your kids play hockey too, or
Not yet. I have a 4-year-old, so
okay?
I'm trying not to push him, but we'll see. We'll see this year if he gains any interest in it. But yeah, I'll let him make that decision.
Little young to be putting on the goalie pads and mask.
Yeah, for some, not others.
Yeah. Hey, John, really appreciate your time. Anything else that you would like to add before I let you go? Been generous with your time.
No, I appreciate the time as well, Brian. I appreciate the conversation, and never hesitate to reach out.
Sounds good. Well, you have a great day, and hopefully we'll talk again soon.
Sounds great. Thanks, Brian. Have a good one.
Take care. You too. Bye.